All right. So, hello, Daniel. So, I'm excited to have you here in Holistic Investments. How are you doing?
Doing well, Constantin. Thanks for having me on today.
Yes, I'm excited to have you on. And as your host, Constantin Kogan, I will throw traditionally a legal disclaimer so that we can talk about anything on the program. So this content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, and financial or any other advice. So now we literally can talk about a lot of things, not everything, but and I want to say who you are and explain what are we going to talk about because it's an exciting topic. So Daniel is a head of revenue at SFOX. So SFOX is one of the leading prime brokers in the space, and I think today we're going to start off like, what is a prime broker? What is a crypto prime broker? And what are they for? Because people who are, I would say, out of institutional world, they might not just like know it. And I'm sure that you have clients, not only like hedge funds or banks, but you also have retail clients. So it'll be interesting for them to learn what are the services are you offering. Let's start off with that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the introduction, Constantine. So prime brokerage is actually, it comes from more of the traditional markets, right? It's more often used by bigger banks trading equities or FX, really so that they can get more capital efficiency. They normally, if you were a hedge fund in equities, what you would do is you would go through a prime broker. They would extend you their balance sheet and allow you to get exposure to certain liquidity venues that they may have access to that you normally wouldn't. And what we've seen that, the value on the crypto side is that, the markets here are so much more fragmented, right? If you compare us to the equities market, the equities, there's only about like 3 or 4 main liquidity venues in each region locally, right? And crypto, you have hundreds and hundreds of different exchanges, decentralized exchanges all over the place. And it's interesting because every single exchange has a different price. It's fragmented. The reason being is because you could, every market has a different sentiment of the price, but there's also different liquidity providers. And so what that does cause is it's, as a user, you're wondering, you're coming into the space, it's, where do I buy a Bitcoin or where do I buy crypto? Like, Coinbase may have the best price, but then 1 minute later, maybe Gemini and so forth. And so the prime brokerage model kind of came in and, we helped pioneer that in a sense where we want to improve the price discovery and transparency of crypto, but also make it even more easily accessible. Because, like I said before, if there are 100 different exchanges, in order for anyone to like buy across all these, what you would have to do is open an account 100 times. And how many of the users on this podcast, I imagine, have at least like 10 accounts, 10 different exchange accounts, right? And you have then 10 different passwords. Well, if you were an individual or fund, that's a complicated process operationally. So the prime brokerage, you can come to us. We provide a single point of access where we basically extend our credit line, allowing you to buy and sell across all the liquidity venues and exchanges that we're connected to. So, for instance, if you're an individual, you can onboard with SFOX. We give you an aggregated order book across all the major OTC providers and exchanges, and then we do smart order routing. So we'll take your order and we will break it up and spread it across all the exchanges and OTC providers that we're connected to in order to get you the best price available.
Okay, so I think that's valuable, and so let's break it down to pieces, right? I know, for example, let's take a use case. An individual / institution, right, who wants to buy $100 million worth of crypto, and specifically, let's talk about Bitcoin, one of the easiest way to purchase this. First of all, I want to caution anyone who ever tried to even think about it, right? Even if you try to go to Coinbase, Binance, all the usual suspects, now you will not be able to do that on the one shot, unless you get institutional account, right? On a retail level, you all have certain limitations, and I'm sure everyone who ever tried, they know it's like somewhere 25,000, somewhere 50,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to give you an opportunity to even buy $1 million. So what it requires for an individual, to register with you and acquire, let's say, $100 million worth of Bitcoin?
Yeah. So from an individual's perspective, our onboarding is very straightforward, and we've automated a lot of the process. So, simple like any other exchange, you would come in, register your email, provide certain information. We actually do a full background check based off of the information you provide, and then we'll give you certain limits. But the beauty is for you to buy 100 million, 200 million, and so forth. Because we're aggregating all the order books, we'll also give you some advanced order types, smart routing, iceberg, different algorithms that's mainly used by institutions or more sophisticated trading shops that we can give to an individual to use themselves. Because like you just mentioned, right, if you were to trade or buy, even as little, even not as little, but even as much as 1 million or 2 million, that will impact the exchange. And what happens is that not only will your execution be terrible, where you think the price is, you're going to buy at 30,000, but you end up buying at 35 because of the slippage. But then also, because of that movement, you've also notified the market, hey, there's a large purchase coming in. And so all the other market makers are going to come in and change the price, right? So this is why algorithms and aggregated order books are so important, because first, with a aggregated order book, not a single exchange will get impacted because the orders get spread across every single exchange and liquidity provider. The second piece then is, well, then how do you take advantage? How do you improve that even further? Well, you give in more advanced order types. So with our smart routing or icebergs, what we'll do is we'll take the large portion, we'll hide it so that the market can't really see the true intention of the order, and then trickle it out over time across all the different platforms. It's kind of very similar in a way where MicroStrategy did it with the other exchanges. So they did it over time. They basically did a TWAP, right? It was time over average. The only problem with that though was it was very predictable. As you saw in this thing, it was every 50. I think it was like every 15 minutes, and they made a purchase of the same size. And a lot of people were able to call it out. They were saying, oh yeah, we noticed that there was something odd behaviors. Well, if you think you could break it up, but then other market makers are looking at it and they're thinking, all right, I see that this is an advantage. I'm going to take advantage of it, right?
So what do you do if you see that someone is like, there's a huge buying wall, whatever it may be, like $10 million, $50 million. So do you increase actually your data?
So that actually feeds into our data. But what we do is, so like in our instance, if someone were to execute that order, that order would never actually be shown on the books, because again, like our algorithms will actually break it up. That $250 million order, that'll be broken up into thousands of $100 to $200 orders. So it looks like natural flow. In addition to that, then it's like, if someone wanted to buy against that wall, we would just work it over time. And that's all automated through the algorithms that's provided.
And how long would it take? Would it, like, let's imagine we're talking about like $100 million purchase like that.
I mean, so that's a loaded question, just because there's so many different factors related to that, right? The time and risk, it's really dependent on how aggressive do you want to take it, right? If you're willing to take a discount on the price, you can take it immediately. But if you're trying to be a little bit more passive, more conservative, it'll take some time, right? But then it also depends on the market activity. If no one is trading in the books and you're looking at exchanges and it's like an all-time lows, it's going to take a little bit longer. However, if markets are very volatile and markets are very active, it's going to move a lot quicker. So there's different aspects you got to take into account.
Got it. What are your limits for an individual?
So our limits so we don't actually have limits. It's on a case-by-case basis where, if you are an individual, you register. If you're a high net worth individual, can show that you have $100,000 or a certain amount of assets, we'll give you the limit, what you need, right? It's all basically making sure that everything that you say you have, we can confirm, and then you can trade it. So if you're willing to buy $1 million and so forth, as long as you can show that you have $1 million, you get that limit. Got it.
Who are your main clients? So we've noticed that we've talked about like people who can be individuals, traders, so to speak, and then I assume there are hedge funds, there are other type of institutions, there are making financial advisors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's interesting because given our model, we attract a whole variety of different clienteles, but the core of the platform that we developed was for institutions, these sophisticated traders. And the reason, I'll tell you the reasons why, right? So the reason why we catered and built the platform for that is because what we realized is we know that individuals and advanced traders, and they're coming up and they're going to need the same tools. And we're trying to make it very open and fair. We don't want to segregate it where only a certain group of people get certain types of features. We're making it open. But then we want to make sure that everyone had that SFOX edge, which is what we like to say. And so like our user base, it's built and we cater to financial funds, family offices, high net worth individuals, and even businesses like T0 use us, Megon Bank, Blockchain has used us, generally to partner to give them liquidity. And then we have a lot of day traders, active day traders who are trading on a day-to-day basis or even on a weekly basis. Because of our arbitration, because of our aggregated book and tools, it gives them a little bit more flexibility and ways to trade in a better way than they would on a direct exchange. So our client base, it really does expand from the individual who just wants to buy and sell to people who want to actively trade on a day-to-day basis, to family offices, to funds and businesses.
Mm-hmm. So you're pretty transparent in your pricing, so that's why I'm not gonna ask you about it. Like anyone who wants to take a look, like you just go to sfox.com/pricing. You will see, depending on the volume, right? You'll have a certain amount of discounts. So that's quite obvious. But the other thing is, again, do you need to have like a kind of, I would say, more technical knowledge, for example, like to install your API, or you can help with that as well?
So we can help with that, right? So, and this is going to the theme of, so SFOX actually stands for San Francisco Open Exchange. And that open is actually very important to us. It's part about being transparent, being available, making it accessible. And so everything that we have on the platform, it's available so that you can access it. So for the API, what we love to do is, if you have questions, we'll get a team to work with you. We don't care if you are, John Smith, who just started, being interested in crypto. We love working with, all different types of individuals, just because client service is a big piece. I think what we've realized in this space is that if you look across, Coinbase and all these other changes, there's that one missing piece, which is customer support, where it's hard to get in contact with somebody. And for us, that's a key thing, where we want to make sure that there's client service, there's someone to talk to. It's not just over the email, but there's over the phone. And so if you have a question about the API, we can walk you through, answer those questions, help you out. For certain clients and businesses, we even set up Slack channels for them, just to make it available. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I guess like you have, I would say, one of the leading investors in the space who supported, the project, right? Coming from Y Combinator, SV Angels, DCG, Hustler Ventures, Social Capital, Tribe Capital, and etc. Right? So I would say there's a lot of trust in your platform out there, and you're also not new. You've been around the block, for several years in crypto. I would say
light years, right?
Yeah, light years. Yeah, veterans in crypto years, right? So. Tell me, how are you capturing the market right now? How many clients do you have right now? And maybe for the people who are a bit impatient. So I want to announce also we're going to have a little demo later, right? So it's coming up later. So, but for now, I just want to cover the basics.
Yeah, no. So look, a lot. So we've done actually a terrible job of marketing. I'm going to be honest. And we're going to
delete this. Delete this.
No, but this is why. This is why I'm so excited to be on this call with you, because you have such a great podcast and YouTube channel that this is going to be so helpful. But a lot of our clientele has really come from word of mouth, and it actually feels very great, because the fact that we have over 200,000 users and all of that came from word of mouth really shows validity in that people trust our product and like our product. We've gone out and done the shows of reaching out to folk and so forth, but a lot of our core guys have been word of mouth guys who they say they love this product. We recommend you talking to use and using them. And primarily that's because it's reliable. We've been around since 2014, never been hacked, never had any issues. Continued to raise very well from the traditional side of VC. And I think one of the biggest pieces is that look, like, as exchanges continue to grow and volume grows, you're starting to see, exchanges go down. Like we've seen Coinbase go down time to time, and it's not their fault. It's like there's a lot of volume happening, but that does impact the market, right? That it does impact the user, where when they want to trade, they can't get in. And so one piece that's been valuable to a lot of our user base was that our platform doesn't go down. And the reason why I say that is because we have so many different liquidity providers where when Coinbase does go down, you can still trade across Kraken, you can still trade across Gemini, you can still trade across Bitstamp and so forth. And that provides that continuity. And that's why customers have naturally started coming more and more to us. And that word of mouth has really helped for us.
Yeah. And by the way, if I remember correctly, you were director of institutional sales and Gemini Exchange as well, right? So you kind of, you probably helped to build this bridge.
Yeah. I've definitely been around the block for it. I've been so lucky. Been around the block. I used to be with Gemini as the head of institutional sales. And then before that, I was the head of institutions at Paxos IPIT. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So definitely got to see and understand exactly what my clients and individuals wanted from the early days to now, and really how much has changed. And that's kind of the reason why I really joined SFOX, because what we did see was it was interesting. Like back in 2014, the idea from Paxos to Gemini was, let's create this regulated institutional platform. This is what's blocking people from coming in. And the more and more institutions we spoke to me, it was more like, well, regulation is kind of far away. People do care about it. However, the hard part is going back to the idea of, if you're an institution, you want to trade, 200 million or even $1 million in the market, how do you trade that? You can't do it on a single exchange. And so that whole idea of prime brokerage, that really is what manifested in. And to me, that's the next phase. And that's why you kind of see all these other exchanges starting to build this product out, because it's truly a need. Frankly, although markets are liquid and there's a lot of activity going on today in Bitcoin and all the other coins, it's still generally small to the traditional markets. So I think that's why that's why we're seeing this need for models like ours and others out there.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. It is important. And there's another topic that I want to raise, considering this, the markets are different needs. And right now we're talking about different types of your clientele that you have. What about dark pools? Can you explain the concept? Because I've been dying to talk to someone about it. It's not an easy topic to talk about publicly, but yeah. You can do your best job as much as you can so that you will not get in trouble. Definitely.
No, so I think, and dark pool has been a very interesting thing, not just for you and I, but really for a lot of the large traders in the markets, because, and this goes back to market price, market impact, because the beauty and kind of the con of crypto's trading is that everything is transparent. However, when things are too transparent, that's a lot of information, and you could use that information against you, right? Yeah. If you think about it, crypto is really the only market where for free, you can see all the trades that are happening in real time, what the order book looks like. If you did that in the equities market or FX, you would actually have to pay for that extra service. And so dark pool is so important because it really limits that impact of price, price impact. So if you were trying to trade, $10 million, $200 million on a book, here's what happens, right? Again, you can see on the order book, it gets printed, and then in the time of sales in the API, anyone who's a market maker or anyone who's actually monitoring all the trades is going to see, all right, someone just sold 200 million. This is going to be a sell-off. Let's start selling and try to get ahead of it, right? And what ends up happening is the guy who ends up trying to sell gets front run, and then is either unable to sell or sells at even a worse price. So what the dark pool does is it hides everything, right? So it makes it very extremely private. It's a dark pool, meaning that, again, as the name says, completely black. You can't see anything, completely private. What happens is you won't know what's in the order book. You don't know, what the size is and so forth. All you can do is either see what the top of the book price is, or place an order in and see if it gets filled, right? If it does get executed, no one knows like no one knows if the trade got executed unless you're the buyer or seller, and that's it. So it's completely private. And what that does allow, again, is that removes any information or noise being transferred, disseminated into the market, so that there's no price impact. And so that's a real big benefit. And this is really commonly used in the equities and FX markets, but something that's been very, very driven on the crypto side. That's seen a huge demand from the institutional market.
But in blockchain, the only caveat that you will still see, if someone will buy in one shot, let's say, even $10 million worth of Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So there is a way to see that someone did it. You will not know who, why, right? But during the day, you will see like that someone did it, right? And it still might have certain impact on the price.
Right. Well, that's even if you did that, like, so if you did that order on an exchange, 100%. However, in a dark pool, you wouldn't see it. It doesn't get printed like in the data of the exchange. Mm-hmm. The data it wouldn't be shown anywhere.
Got it.
So that's really the big difference, because on a dark pool you won't see the order book. It won't appear on an order book, nor will the history of that order appear on any data feed. The only person that sees the order is the one who placed it and the one who bought or sold it.
I see. There was a time when there was a group, that in Telegram, the name was Fuck Whale, and they posted every day the one of the largest chunks of people who bought, like, let's say $10 million Bitcoin or $100 million Bitcoin with like 50,000 of of Ether, and they would post it, they would track it. That was very interesting. It disappeared in time, but I remember it was the case, and I'm sure there are more groups like that right now as we speak. So people are crazy. So I think dark pools are just to debunk the myth. That it's not something it's not an organization mafia oriented. Somebody is trying to hide anything. It's more of a privacy for institutional players and people who want to drive liquidity, but they want to drive it the way they prefer it. To have a little bit more privacy, even though we're talking about the public ledgers, right?
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point that you brought up, right? Because there's always a negative connotation of when you use the word dark, just because it's as if they're trying to do something illegal or something. That's not the case. And in fact, it's actually more beneficial for the market, because then there's less price impact, there's less manipulation to it. It's actually being done more in consideration to make sure that there isn't this huge volatility into it. It's a benefit for the market.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and I know few people who actually run successfully dark pools, and they do it just because, for the reasons you mentioned. If most of the folks, because they trade also besides the traditional portfolio of Bitcoin and Ethereum, they trade more exotic tokens. And if somebody would know that they're buying right now or they're selling right now, they can crash the market, if even with $1 million. Oh
my God, yeah.
Especially with leverage, what are we talking about? Some crypto assets are still very, very slow in their volumes, and I guess it's also, we can talk about it openly, that the volumes that are published on exchanges, some of the market makers are using a lot of bots. Let's put it this way: they're not real. All the transactions that are happening, huge. I wouldn't say the exact percentage. There's no way to double check it, but you remember this famous report that says 90%. I think it was Bitwise who posted it, that 90% of liquidity is fake. Which again, I don't know whether 90%, but I would say even if half of whatever they posted is true, that was alarming, and I hope that it will change for good. We'll have real liquidity, and which means that if a person wants to liquidate a position, he doesn't need to wait for weeks not to kill the price, right? Because I know a lot of folks who really truly believe in the project, and let's name it a project as that's not top 10, right? But they want to for their personal reasons, they want to sell their assets really nicely, not to kill the price, not to touch anyone else, and but they cannot do it because they have a large chunk of tokens, so they need to wait and do it smartly through guys like you.
Yeah.
So maybe let's practically take a look at how the platforms looks, and maybe so you can share the screen and you can show how would someone actually execute an order.
Yeah, sure. So what you're seeing here is the user interface for SFOX. It's a very standard, very similar to exchanges, a little bit more sophisticated given, we'll go into the details. What I'm showing you here is on the left-hand side, it's your standard order book. But what you'll notice is what's very different is, one, you're seeing this arbitrage piece. The second piece is you're also seeing names of all the different exchanges and liquidity providers that we're connected to. For instance, Bitstamp, B2C2, which is OTC, Kraken, and a few others. And everything.
How many exchanges do you connect to?
So we're over 20.
Got it.
And that's exchanges and OTC providers. So a variety of different liquidity providers. And that's the reason why you are constantly seeing a spread or an arbitrage, because again, markets are so fragmented that there will be overlaps. And these are actually, these are real arbitrage that you can grab and you can take. But if you take in consideration fees, obviously it's not going to be a full arbitrage, but it'll reduce or improve your price. But this here gives you really full transparency in what's going on in the market. You can really see, all right, well, in one order book, who actually is the best price, and so forth. So that's where you have it here. And again, I think the big difference here is you do not need to have an account at each of these, liquidity providers or exchanges. All you need to have is an account at SFOX, and you can immediately access and trade across all these platforms. In addition to the aggregated order book, what we have is a variety of different order types. It's from smart routing, stop loss, immediate or cancel, trailing stop, TWAP, whole variety of different order types that you can use at no additional cost. What this does is it allows you to trade better than just using your market or limit price. Give me 1 second.
Let's probably explain in few words, what if people who are not familiar with IOC, TWAP, and other acronyms.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to start with the most standard smart routing, right? Yeah. So smart routing is going to take your order and break it up and spread it across every single liquidity provider in order to capture it. So it's not going to just look at every exchange and then execute on one platform. It will break it up and give you the best average price. Mm-hmm. And in turn, then sometimes you'll actually get an improvement. Stop loss is where it's more of a protection, right? It triggers where, for instance, let's say you're long on a position and you don't know the market's volatile, so you don't know, when you want to sell, but you want to make sure that you put a trigger price in. So you can put a trigger price saying, all right, if the market drops to 1% below, immediately sell. And so you can set that up to automate your trading rather than you having to be in front of the screen and then monitoring and then signing in. You can just simply do a trigger price. Immediate or cancel, it's a simple order where it just buys and sells cryptocurrency immediately. It will do it either fill it immediately or it won't execute. That's just more so it's a guarantee and speed of you making sure your order gets done. We also have trailing stop. So this is great, especially when the markets are moving up, right? If you are in a bullish market and you want to automate that sell-off, because as you know in crypto, things can go up and then literally 2 seconds later, it can go completely down, right? Well, what if it was going up and you wanted to capture that, but you didn't want to, you want to make sure that you benefited from, you didn't end up getting caught in that drop down. So you would do a trailing stop where, you would say, as the market price moves up, make sure that it sells within 1%. So your trigger price will gradually increase automatically as the price goes up in order to protect your floor or your limit on when it sells. Mm-hmm. Then there's Hare, TWAP, Sniper, Gorilla. So these are 5 different algorithms where it works for different scenarios. So Hare, it's a post-only order where it will, so how you see an exchange, and there's always someone that always hops your order, right? Let's say you put in a place where you want to buy 1 Bitcoin at 5,000, and then all of a sudden you immediately see someone says, I'm willing to buy 1 Bitcoin at 5,001 cents. So what Hare will do is it'll take your order and it will go to an exchange with the best price, and then if someone beats your price, it'll improve it, and then it'll go from exchange to exchange, making sure that it can always execute at the best price. TWAP is your time-weighted average price. So you can specify and automate saying, I don't know if I want to buy now, but over over a 48-hour period, I want to buy every 15 minutes. That's what TWAP will do. It will take your full order, break it up into that range and that time period, and then you can adjust the frequency of how often you want to buy.
Can you set up a random frequency? Like, for example, not exactly 15 minutes, but you can do one order in 45 minutes, another in 15 minutes.
So on the user interface, right now it's defaulted to 15 minutes. On the API though, you can customize it all the way down to the second. Okay. And then there's these final three, which I find very cool. So Sniper, Polar Bear, and Gorilla. They are an iceberg order mixed with smart routing behavior. So for instance, as an iceberg order, what happens is, let's say you want to buy 1 million, but you don't want to impact the market. It'll only show in the market, you're looking to buy, 5,000 and like 1% of it. And then as that 1% gets filled, it'll trickle up over time, right? Now, what Sniper, Polar Bear, and Gorilla does, it takes that same behavior, but it'll also spread it across every single exchange or every liquidity provider. So, if you're buying 1 million, well, it'll trickle out 1%, but it'll take that 1% and put it across every single different exchange. Meanwhile, the order that's being hidden or not available to trade is actually being placed in the dark pool. So if someone comes in the dark pool, that is also being taken. So all three orders are always actively being used and tackled on. So it provides a lot more efficiency, a better price for everybody. We spoke a lot, so I'm going to just continue. On the time of sales, this is actually showing you real-time live feeds of what's going on in the market, of who's trading, who's buying and selling across every single platform. So that allows you to in one order form, really see, all right, when do I want to buy and sell? This is what I see in the market, rather than you having to have 10 different tabs. Now, the other
order that you would process?
So our minimum order is, I believe it's $10.
Okay. So
and
no minimums.
Yes, no minimums. There's no fee in terms of setting up an account. It's all free. It's only when you use it, you have to pay. And everything's very transparent. Our fees are all inclusive, so you're not paying exchange fees plus SFOX fees. Everything is all inclusive. So we start off at 25 basis points, which is actually frankly cheaper than other platforms when you first start out. And the reason why is because anytime we get a discount, we're extending it and passing it to our customers.
So maybe let's try to see what happens if you put on like $100 worth of order.
Yes. Let's just do,
or
I'll even do, let me do 0.2. No, that's actually a lot now. Let's do this. Okay. So let me do 0.1. This will be a 3,000 order. So I'm going to buy at 3103.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So as you see, it's already getting filled at 31,105, and it'll start filling over time. Now let's see. And it's moving to other different exchanges, and it just got filled. So
that was fast. Yeah.
So what you're seeing here, now here's the cool part, right? So my limit price was to buy 0.1 Bitcoin at 31,105. But we were able to actually improve your price by $2. And so we passed that to you. So we ended up filling your order at 31,103. And so the way the platform works is, if we can get you a better price, we'll pass that to you. And that's the beauty of smart routing and the aggregation, because it's always like, if you go into an exchange and you put a limit price, your price is what you get. If you want to buy at 5,000, that's what you get. For us, it's, if you want to buy at 5,000, great. If we can get you and fill that order at 4,000, we'll do that, and we'll pass that to you.
So can we click on details and take a look how much did it cost, like in terms of fees?
Yeah, so here's actually, so you go to the details, it'll actually show you in detail how the order is broken out. So one order was filled at 0.001 at 3,100. The other one was filled at 0.098 at 31,103. And then it cost $10.89.
In total?
In total.
Interesting. So just out of curiosity, like I what I can do right now, I'm just I'm just curious to change. What was the exact number that we were talking about that you fulfilled right here?
So we fulfilled 0.1 Bitcoin.
0.1 Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me try. I want to do an experiment right now, and I'm right now on Coinbase. I'm just curious how much will they charge me like online. So Coinbase, folks, this is like live. You know, I'm not trying to. I will provide this information because I will screenshot it actually. Coinbase, as we speak right now, so the order would be 31. The price would be 31. $1,072. That's what they offer me. Like, the purchase would be $31.07. So they would charge me $46.30. So we're looking right now at SFOX that is charging us $10 as opposed to $46 from Coinbase.
It's crazy.
It is. I mean, this is not a negative advertising towards Coinbase. I know we both respect the company, right? And I use them myself, full disclosure, and you guys are partnered with them. But I just want to show something very practical, like what we just did, and I think for even retail investors who are not thinking, oh, I'm just doing whatever, maybe a few $100s, maybe a few $1,000s, acquiring some Bitcoin on a daily basis. Some people have this strategy. They put 10% of their portfolio into crypto, and it's still more efficient and cheaper to use the smart routing platform like SFOX rather than just going directly on exchanges. Not to even mention, as Daniel already talked about it several times, you will not be able to securely manage 10 different passwords, 10 different keys and everything that you're managing. Hopefully you will, but just in case, it's easier to do it from one stop place. Sorry, I just wanted to do this experiment live, and I think it was fun.
Yeah, no, it's actually very surprising. I think Coinbase is a great company, right? And they've done phenomenal. But it's expensive.
It is. So can we do similar to, I want to do with ETH, Ethereum. There's another theory of mine I want to prove.
Let's see. So.
And they're closer to gas fees, as you can imagine.
So I will buy 1 ETH at, I'm going to put a cost at 11.33.
Mm-hmm.
And so it immediately filled right here. I was able to buy it I put a limit price of 11.33, ended up filling at 11.32.72. So about 34 cents cheaper, an improvement.
Okay, so now we're talking about Coinbase. I'm looking at it right now. The purchasing price would be $1,141.43, and I would pay $17 of Coinbase fee. So in total, I would pay $1,158. I mean,
ours. Your net here is 1,136. So
we're talking about like a hefty economy. $22. We're not talking about like pennies. I mean, seriously, $22. It's not like. And this is only on like small, this is relatively small transaction. Imagine an institution who's buying like 10,000 ETH in one shot. I think it's very useful to showcase it, again, with transparent comparison. I probably should have tried some other venues, to be fair, but we're in the US. Coinbase is the biggest. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, Coinbase. The guinea pig. So anything else? Any other exciting? So you currently now on the other side, we'll criticize you a little bit as well, because it's an objective overview.
Of course, it can't be all positive.
What you have currently, as I see, 5 different pairs, right? BTC, so Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash. What else do you have?
So we have Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether, Bitcoin Cash, So we do have XRP, but however, we discontinued that.
Okay.
That's been private, so that's actually never been publicly available. It was only so this is a demo account, so this is why you're seeing this, but it's not something that's been ever.
I see Ethereum Classic, then
Ethereum Classic, BSV, and then Ravencoin.
You have Ravencoin. That's interesting.
It's very unique. I know. They actually have a very strong and good community. But the token.
Well, I imagine because you're friends with T0, right?
and we're friends with T0 too.
Yeah, that explains. Patrick Byrne is a person I know as well. So yeah, that's why Ravencoin. Got it. Oh, and so what about if I want to buy, let's say, something like, I don't know, Cosmos or Cardano, ADA, or like anything other top 10? What would I do?
Yeah, so generally, so although we don't support it, and it's definitely something that we've been looking into support. Generally, what we do is we help there's getting into Cardano or these other coins. There's always a two-leg process, right? Because a lot of the tokens you have to buy it either through BTC or buy it with Ether. So what we do is our clients will come in, they use our platform to buy BTC or Ether at the best price, and then what they'll do is they'll withdraw it to the wallet or to exchange where it offers Cardano, Polkadot, or wherever that you can purchase it. Ultimately, for us, we'll help you get that first leg, get you the best price from the BTC and Ether side, and then once you're ready to take in the gains and sell off Ether, Bitcoin, we can help you. But generally, you come in, buy it, you request a withdrawal, which is automatic and immediate, and then you can bring it to the exchange that you need to.
So let me rephrase the question. If I would in Wall Street movies, if I call you and ask you, hey Daniel, can you buy me $1 million worth of Cardano? Will you be able to execute it or not?
So on the OTC side, not yet. It's something that we're exploring.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So in the case of let's talk about swapping. For example, if I have a position in Bitcoin, can you allow me, instead of just selling it and buying ETH, or can you allow me to swap my Bitcoin position to ETH?
So the only swap we have is the trading side. So you would go into, so we do have ETH Bitcoin, Litecoin Bitcoin. So it's a swap in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So in this sense, where it would be the same process where you're swapping across all the different liquidity providers that we're connected to as well, and you can sell your ETH for Bitcoin and vice versa, and all that's supported through Litecoin Bitcoin, ETH Bitcoin. So everything that we supported is all has a Bitcoin underlying pair as well.
Okay, so would you need to buy and sell? So you need to do two actions, or you can just literally exchange your Bitcoin position to ETH. Can you show it maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I have 0.2 Bitcoin right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I'm gonna, let's see. I'm gonna sell. Okay, so I'm gonna sell 5. Oh, let me sell 1 Bitcoin. Sell 1 ETH for 0.03 Bitcoin. And there you go. So I swapped it, and then it's immediately available.
Perfect. Yeah, I see it. So only Bitcoin ETH opportunity like that for now, right?
Bitcoin ETH, Litecoin, Bitcoin, BCH Bitcoin, all those interoperable.
Okay, so all the pairs.
Yeah. So we do have plans supporting other coins. That should be coming shortly. But there's other coins that we've been looking into, along with stable coins as well. So that should be exciting.
So what are the announcements? Let's sneak peek into what is coming up.
Yeah, that unfortunately I can't share. my compliance legal team will kick my butt for it.
Okay. So we'll talk about it off the books. I will insert it as a picture, like a secret picture. Okay. No, but it's good to know. So you're going to add more crypto pairs. I think that is important because a lot of folks, they will find a lot of usage, obviously to buy those popular one, but I'm sure active traders, their portfolio is is bigger than just 5 crypto assets. So like for them, I think it will be a huge benefit, especially if we're talking about like top 20. Anything that you're gonna add from top 20 will be
Most definitely.
worthwhile like exploring. And especially, so let's talk about a little bit as I mean, unless did we finish? Do you want to show some other exciting functionalities or?
Yeah, let me show you. So I'm actually going to show you this. So there's a reason why this view has different accounts. Part of it is actually where we have something called manage users. So you can actually create a team. You can set different permissions, different levels. So, let's say for Constantin, like let's say you wanted to manage an account across, your friends or so forth. Well, you can add them, or they can add you to their account, give you permissions to either trade, deposit, withdraw, or even just read and watch. And you can invite them. And what happens is, once you're invited, you can see all the various different accounts that you're linked to, swap in between the accounts, and that allows you to easily, swap between accounts, but then also manage. Now, if you're
for managed accounts, especially, right?
Yes, we've seen a lot of folks, especially on the business side, where managed accounts has been really important to them. But also just the whole permission base, being able to control and share your account, but then control who has access to what, has definitely been a big security process for the users.
In this case, do you need accreditation for both people? I'll give you an example. Like if a asset manager who's managing his client's portfolio. Imagine we're talking about a financial advisor who's managing a portfolio of a client, $2 million. He just give him an order like, listen, today I want to buy $1 million worth of just Bitcoin, right? So do you need accreditation from both people, like, and verify them, or only the person who's depositing money?
Only anyone that uses the platform has to be verified, right? The manager or the investor. Now, we don't match users, right? So we're not going to match you with an investor or a manager or an investor with a manager. So we don't do that accreditation. We hope and expect that as you being a manager or the investor, you guys are doing accreditation and have that trust already built together. What we're doing is really giving you the tools and facility to enable that process.
Got it. Maybe another tricky question, which, we don't have a lot of time left. So let's talk about taxes. It's not the most sexy topic, but like it requires our attention because a lot of folks will be wondering, okay, so this is great. I can create a lot of orders and my order book is transparent, but can you also facilitate people's life, for like providing them all the reports of all their trades?
Yeah, so our reports are actually very detailed because of all the clientele that we have, especially on the fund manager side. We've made our reporting very, we've made our reporting very interoperable or manageable across the accountants that we've worked with, right? So like MG Stover, which is probably one of the biggest fund admins in the space, we've made sure that our reports are completely interoperable and compatible with theirs. So in fact, if you go to more reports, we will have 2 levels of reporting types. We actually had 3 on the previous one, but this will give you the order level information. Will give you, let's just say, this year. Now I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because I gotta show you the spreadsheet. So give me 1 second. All right, so I downloaded that report, that order summary report. Now the beauty here is it's going to give you every single detail you need, or your accountant needs, or even the software you need to report your taxes. So you'll have the order ID. You'll also have the time and date. This is more for your individual base. Let's say if you have multiple users, it'll tell you who did it, what direction, what's trading. But the most important part is, especially when you're trading crypto to crypto, how do you know what that FX rate is? What is that FX rate? So we actually give you the unit cost of what it would be if you did in USD, or even when you did BTC to Ether, what that USD value would be. We also label very clearly what the fees are. And so, if you're doing crypto to crypto, the fees are typically in BTC. Well, what is that in USD? So we also give you that fee equivalent in there too. So all that information is all there for you to easily manage your taxes as needed.
Perfect. No, that's very useful. So the only thing what I would say, like for me, would be a must-have feature is also stable coins. Something that I use quite often, like USDT, USDC, and I know a lot of folks like who are using this functionality as well. So are you planning some nearest time to implement stable coins?
Yeah. Constantin, you're funny. No, look, we definitely have plans, and we've been actively monitoring the stablecoin market. We've been working with partners and really making sure that it can be done. So it's definitely something that's on our roadmap in the very near future. And we know the huge demand, how big the demand is. And it's something that a lot of clients, a lot of users have asked for. So it's definitely something that we are going to cater in the near future.
So I will translate what Daniel just said. He doesn't want that his compliance officer will execute him. So like the answer was like most likely, like, and you read the lines, right? But he cannot tell us exactly that's what they're going to do. So good. I mean, I had to ask, and
of course, you have to pull it out.
Yes. No, I think it is important, and people will get excited because that's a lot of people, as just especially in the times of volatility, people get out of they're swapping into stable coins and back and forth. So for them, it's just very useful tool. I'm sure that's just by implementing that, you're going to increase your clientele by a lot, which I sincerely wish you that. And so I don't know, maybe at the end, maybe you can tell like one of the craziest story that had happened to you and like you've been like successfully running as a business since, as you mentioned, 2014, which is again, you're veterans in the crypto world, like you're veterans, right? So maybe you can explain like, some of the craziest situations you had with the clients. Maybe I hope they're funny, not just like, crazy, but also funny.
Well, so I can't go into clients just because of client privacy reasons. But crazy stories in the crypto space. Ooh, this is tough. I got to think about it. You really caught me off guard on this one.
Good. No, okay, maybe name one that that you remember. Like you wake up in the middle of the night and you will remember this was like really the crazy story.
No. So this wasn't funny, but it was definitely crazy. So you look, and this actually it was kind of crazy because I told you in the beginning that like the big thing here is for us is client services, right? Well, there was one time where we had somebody, a client who actually was getting hacked on another exchange. I'm not going to say what other exchange, wow. But they got their account. Someone got access to the account, and then what happened was they were making withdrawals. But the exchange has whitelisted addresses, so they started making withdrawals to an exchange, to a platform, and it actually ended up coming to us, right? Because that client had an account with one exchange and with us, and they started making withdrawals. So our client, this was like 3 a.m. I'm with my family. I'm knocked out, and the client's calling, and I immediately wake up, and he's like, Danny, I need you to I need your help right now. Like, this is what's going on. Like, we just got about $10 million pulled away from our account. Can you help me?
Wow.
So we woke up. I immediately called every single team member on the company, making sure let's just lock down the account, make sure it's all taken, that nothing's moving. This would happen in the middle of 5 minutes. Everyone was probably upset at me for waking them up at such an early hour. However, I'm proud to say nothing got impacted by the client, right? In fact, the client, he even said, he was like, you honestly saved us, because if this actually got leaked out, we would have been completely, we would have been like our fund would have wiped out.
You saved the day, basically.
We saved the day. And if you know what, like it felt good. We were like, man, like that's a great feeling. It's a little crazy, but like, it's funny, like this happens time to time, but this is why it's like security is a big thing. And you know, it's scary, and it's crazy, but you know, it's glad that everything was like secure and taken care of. So that's always good to know.
So basically, you now you kind of forced me to ask you a quick question about the security, right? What are the chances that SFOX might be hacked?
So we have a strong cybersecurity program. We also add in 2FA. We have a variety of different security processes, right? So for instance, if someone logs into your account, if it's a new device, new computer, even a new phone that you log in, you're going to get an email notification. If you don't have a 2FA, your withdrawal actually won't get processed. We will manually review it, right? And also, if you tell us, if you want a bespoke process where you say, hey, I only want withdrawals happening on this address, we'll set that up for you. And so we have all the security measures where, you know, the likelihood of you getting hacked, in fact, we haven't been hacked till this day in 2014. Nor have we ever been impacted in that way. But like our security measures, adding 2FA, adding the whitelisting of devices and IPs, all of that's already in place to make sure that we are extremely secure. We do have security audits, both independently. We do report those to the banking partners that we work with as well. And all of that is making sure that on an annual basis, our system is up, you know, security-wise, is very top-notch.
Got it. And you accept clients internationally, right? Not only from the US.
Right. And in certain countries, you know, we obviously are very big on compliance. So there's certain areas where we can't, like unfortunately, like Germany, given the regulation there. Canada, we don't accept either. But areas where we can, like we have our license in Singapore, and across Europe as well. So if if your client's there, we can definitely onboard you.
Got it. Okay, so now listen, I think in terms of professional side, like, you did great, you presented the platform in the best way possible, and I thank you for that. I want to ask you, Daniel, like, I have also another like unprepared question for you, which is fun. And it's a very simple question. I tend to ask the people, especially those who are just chill, it's a very, I would say, very Eastern European question. Like, so what is the meaning of life to you?
That's I love that question. Honestly, like the meaning of life to me is it's happiness, and it's like friends and family. Like, so my big thing, and this is what I actually loved about crypto. It was like crypto actually enabled a lot more openness where people could interact and connect, right? Like, and this is the only space where you can have people from all over the world, from Nigeria to Korea and so forth, who are interacting, and they're happy and they're interacting on this new concept, right? And for me, like, life was like for me, if my friends, it's not about money, but it's making sure that like all my friends and loved ones that I'm with can enjoy and be happy with me, right? Because look, if you're happy alone, that's not doing anything. But if you and your friends and family are happy together, that's everything. And like in that kind of way, it's like I also want to make sure that everyone actually even has an equal opportunity, right? So like, and that's kind of the reason why I love crypto, because like you can, like in crypto, you can really equally have all your friends and family be happy by being able to access all these various different. It's not concentrated. It's not secluded to anybody. It's literally open to anybody. And I don't know, I just went off tangent from meaning of life to me to what crypto is, but like life to me, it's just happiness and making sure that you're getting the best of it. It's you're with your friends, you're with your loved ones. That to me is life.
And from your answer, I can understand that you love what you do, because this is important as well. If it brings you happiness, like, both on your personal level and on a professional level, that's when you create those happiness, not only for yourself, but for other people.
Yeah, no, like, I'm saying this, like, so before crypto, I hated my job. I hated what I did. Like, I was miserable, man. And I am so fortunate and like grateful that, like, I came across Bitcoiner in like 2012, read in a magazine, and that's like transformed my life because just just not really just loving and doing not only just doing and loving what I do, but then meeting all the different characters and all the people who are truly interested in this ideology of crypto, right? Like, there's a portion of groups who are in it because they can make millions and so forth, sure. But people who actually got in early involved, and there's still some even today, well, they just love the ideology of it, where it's completely open, decentralized. That whole open finances it's just so cool. That's what I love. So yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. I speak with a lot of investors, and one of my friend who's like a multimillionaire, he was early miner, and he said that, listen, there is no way, even if Bitcoin goes to almost 10 cents or like close to zero, I will not sell any of my Bitcoins. Doesn't matter. And this he said it in such confidence. I mean, on one hand, you can think, okay, you can be skeptical. Of course, he's already a multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever, and then he can afford it. But no, it's something else. It's ideologically, as you mentioned, like, he supports the grand scheme, the bigger picture, like, the paradigm shift that the industry offers, uniting like unique people, like you, like, many other successful entrepreneurs in this space. So no, I think that's very valuable to hear it,
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Constantin. What's the meaning to life to you? I'm gonna reverse that.
It's a great question, and you're the second person who's reversing it. Like, the last one was Meltem Demirors, right? So, to me, it's about bestowal. It's about like giving more than you take, and in that I think there is harmony, because I believe that just by nature we are very egotistic. We tend to do a lot of calculations, and we tend to just not because someone is more like evil or like or again like more greedy. No, just by nature we want a lot for ourselves, and that's this desire to receive, desire to become richer, more successful, and it's a driver for progress. Like, it's a driver for success for many like great projects. But I think we're yet to learn how to holistically, that word means a lot to me, to coexist, to accept other people the way they are, to live for them, to support them, to share some of their thoughts, even though it might directly contradict your own values, but just to accept the existence of a different opinion. I think those are like the things which I hope they will happen, and not just like locally, but I hope like we have to rise to a new degree as humanity, and that comes to this level that we kind of will be forced to do that, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I hope for. So it starts.
That sounds like that's exactly like crypto too to me. It's like, because and that's the beauty of it, right? Like, you are accepting anyone and everyone's opinion globally, right? And they're like, look, not everyone agrees on the same page. That's kind of why you have this part of this governance where people will knock heads, but ultimately, like, this is the only space where you're respecting each other and open to different views and trying to really build this bigger vision.
Yeah, no, exactly. And by the way, with this, on this note, maybe you can advise a book, one of your favorite books that changed your life or somehow shifted your paradigm of thinking.
Yeah, so there's two books. It was Dalai Lama's Road to Happiness. This was actually in high school. So I actually used to be a very angry adolescent child, right? And I actually have no idea how I came across this book, but I was seeking, and I'm not realizing it. And I read Dalai Lama's like Road to Happiness, and literally after I finished that book, like, my shift in mindset completely changed. It went from me being this, punky a-hole, right, to being very calm. And even my brother, even my siblings, they were like, what happened to you? What's wrong with you? And my friends were like, you got really soft. But it was more like, look, I don't need to be angry. Like, this is like, like with life, like, like there are things that you got to appreciate and like, slow down. You don't need to go so fast because there's a lot more happiness that you realize. But you kind of most often you overlook because you're just trying to move forward, right? It's like you're saying that's this whole egotistical nature of yourself. You tend to miss a lot of things that are in front of you. And then my second was it was this book. It was actually the founder of Starbucks, and it was interesting. Like he wrote a book called pour your heart into happiness or something, where he talks about it's an autobiography of how he came across Starbucks. And I actually never bought this book. So I went to school in Boston University, and there was a book just on a table. I was waiting for my next class. It was on the table. I found a book there. I just started reading it just to kill time. And that book actually like kind of gave me the whole idea of like, look, like of entrepreneurship, of what you want to go after. It's not about the money, but it's about how much you believe in it, right? And how much you trust it. You're going to go through ups and downs. But if you truly believe in it, like, and you try, like, there's nothing to be wrong about it. And that's what kind of, Charles Schultz did when he started Starbucks. Like, he had this idea of just building a coffee shop. Who knew that he was going to create this huge multi-billion-dollar chain, right? But like, his thing was like, look, like, no matter how much, friction you go against and what you do is, as long as there's like passion and belief in it, you can get there. And that was a big piece because I'll tell you this, when coming from a Korean family, coming from banking and me leaving it to this thing called blockchain, my traditional parents were like, most Korean parents want you to become doctors or lawyers or something, right? I'm telling my parents, hey, I'm leaving my comfortable finance job for this thing called blockchain. They were blowing their heads thinking like, what is this? You're crazy, whatever. Even my friends were like, this is like you're stupid. This doesn't make any sense. I had to push forward and get through it. And that actually like really helped because like I believed in it. And I'm happy where I am. So it's great. So that's what changed my life.
Howard Schultz with his book, Pour Your Heart Into It, also helped you a lot, right? To direct this pursuit of happiness and also show your parents that, listen, this is your path. This is your choice. Listen, respect it,
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Listen, I'm happy you shared it. Like, and I'm going to share the books. This is another thing I do in the comments, in the description. I share the links to the books because I'm collecting my top suggestions from each person that I interview. Like,
you gotta share that. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So thank you, Daniel. I mean, I think it was a great interview. Like, you've shared not only a great amount of knowledge, but also you've shared your heart, which is to me personally, it's more important. So I appreciate that, and I wish you luck professionally at SFOX. I'm sure you're going to be successful, guys. And personally, I wish you grow in this space and reach the new heights.
Thank you so much. I mean, Constantin, and I really appreciate you having me. It's always been a pleasure talking to you. It's an honor to be on the show. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time. And thank you again.
Thank you.